So, welcome to Series 3, Episode 7 of the classic Lizard Canary. I'm Andy Beasley. First of all, apologies that it's been a little while since my last update. I think when I checked on YouTube, I think it was 55 days since the last content. Been a number of reasons for that, to be fair. Been a pretty busy period for me personally outside of the birds, so many of you know for probably the last 16, 17 years, I have a weekend where I do a narrowboat trip with my two sons, my father-in-law, my wife's uncle, and his sons as well. We did that effectively towards the end of June. So that was a nice long weekend. You'll see some footage as I'm talking about this that kind of highlights the tranquility of being on a narrowboat on the British Canal network. For us, it's the Grand Union Canal and the Oxford Canal from Napton heading up towards Cropredy. Like I said, nice long weekend. You get to see a lot of wildlife, a lot of bird life, and you'll see coming up a clip of a heron that we saw canal side. Great shot of that heron taking off and flying over one of the bridges, and then when we got the other side, there he was, sat there again, waiting the other side, and subsequently as we came past, flew off again and headed back from where he originally came from. So that was quite a nice sight to behold. And then more recently, just a little bit of footage from the garden. Every year, because of the trees throughout the housing estate where we live, we tend to see woodpeckers, great spotted woodpeckers and green woodpeckers. And here's some footage of a pair of green woodpeckers actually in the back garden. I was actually sat in the extension, and there they were, wandering around, and seen them quite a bit during that week, and you can hear them around the area as well. So that was quite nice. So it's kind of nice to be able to show some of the wild birds and a bit of footage here anyway. But back to the channel, back to the Lizard Canary. So all in all, I'm really happy with the breeding season. I ordered 30 rings this year, with my aim being to get to mid-20s. Actually did breed, I think around about 26 in the end. I lost one, can't really pin it down to anything specific. The rest of its siblings were okay. But yeah, just went downhill quite quickly, and wasn't able to really turn it around. And then lost another one this week, actually, that had been away for a couple of weeks, from the parents, and again in a cage with two of its siblings. Suddenly went downhill, separated it off, but again it was kind of too late to turn it around. So I think I've actually ended up with 24. I've got a real nice mixture of caps. So I'll flash up on the screen, because I can't remember right now the mixture of non-caps, broken caps and clear caps, but it's a really good mix, so I'm really happy with that. You'll see a bit of footage now, or just a photograph of what you come into this time of year, and I have been coming into this for a little while now, and that's the feathers on the floor, of course, because those early bred birds for me, and some of the second round birds actually, are molting quite heavily. So clearly, as I come into the room every day, there's a pile of black feathers on the floor, and they're well and truly in full molt at the moment. Nice to see as well, those early birds are starting to colour up quite nicely. I apologise for some of the images. You'll see a real mess in the background on the cages from the colour food in the water. For years I've been thinking about doing the colour feeding in the soft food, like a lot of friends of mine do, to kind of reduce the amount of mess that you have. But again, because of like work commitments and so on, my only guaranteed way of making sure that they get what they need from a colour food perspective is really to do it in the water. So unfortunately I just have to put up with the mess. So what I generally do, the perches get cleaned weekly, the trays in the cages get cleaned and emptied with fresh paper weekly. I try and wipe down the dividers on a weekly basis as well, but the actual deep clean to get rid of the staining you can get from the colour food, I kind of do once the molting is over and the birds, I can single them off into show cages, and then I can get in and give them a really good kind of wipe down. And the good thing with these Dave Rand's plastic cages is they are really easy to wash and clean those colour food stains off. Like I said, if I could find an alternative way of doing it, and if I had more time, then I would. But this is my sure guaranteed way of making sure, one, the birds get the colour that they need, unfortunately it means there's a lot of mess. It's just the nature of what I have to do, unfortunately. I talked about the fact that obviously, it has been a busy period for me. It's also been busy from a work point of view. So I'd also had a couple of business trips that kind of took me to Belgium, Netherlands, and also Germany. So again, in those days when I'm kind of away, it needs to be fairly simple and easily manageable in here for anybody in the family that's coming in to do their bit to help. So again, that's also one of the reasons why I do the colour food in the water. But trust me, when I eventually reach that point where I retire, which is I've still got a good way to go. But when I do, I will be going back to colour food in the soft food, I think, and not in the water, just to get rid of the mess. Anyway, I'm on the soapbox when it comes to colour food and water and mess, so that's enough about that one. I had one little minor issue as well this year. So there's a particular hen that sort of struggled with her for breeding. She finally did go down towards the end of the breeding season. Only ended up hatching one youngster, but I didn't have anywhere to move it. As it was on its own in the nest, although I left the dummy egg in the nest, she kept going in and sitting. So subsequently, the bird ended up with what we call sprayed legs. So the legs are actually sort of sprayed out separately. So what I actually did, this is actually an example of one for, I think actually is the Canary one, I think. So I don't know whether you can see this, but you can get these on eBay and on the internet. So I basically fitted this to the youngster, so the legs go through the holes there, and after about, I think it was probably about 2 weeks, when I took it off, the legs were then perfectly formed. I then found out, of course, that he'd also, the bird in question had got slipped claws on both legs, actually. It surprised me because, these weren't that tight. So then I had to do a little modification where, sort of move that back claw back, a little bit of tape, again for a couple of weeks, to get rid of the slip claw issue. Took the tape off a couple of days ago, and sure enough, the bird is fine. So the legs are back to where they should be, the claws back where it should be. He's slowly gripping the perch. So it's one of those, at the end of the day, it's probably not a bird because of those issues, any deformity that's kind of caused, that would probably end up in a show cage for me. But kind of got a duty of care, haven't you, for the well-being and health of the birds. So, you know, anything I can do that kind of helps, you know, that bird have a better life while it's here in the bird room. It won't probably leave the bird room, to be honest. It'll just stay here. You know, it could be used as a feeder if it's a hen, who knows. But anyway, you know, we have a duty of care, like I said, for the well-being of the birds. And like I said, I've done what I can to make sure that bird has a kind of decent and kind of healthy life, so it can perch and it can feed quite happily, and it flies quite happily. That's kind of what you do. So just wanted to highlight that one as well. Like I said, really pleased on the whole with the way it's gone. I have the opportunity to single off potentially 36 cages. I'm not using the bottom row of cages. The second row of cages has actually got a pair of goldfinches in, and then the other half is a treble that's got the adult birds, adult lizard canaries now that have obviously finished breeding. And then I will end up with probably 24 singled off cages with the youngsters in to you know, get them kind of trained up. They've got plenty of room, you know, and that's where they'll pretty much remain until they're molted out, to be fair. One thing I wanted to point out, so if you remember, I mentioned on, might have been the last episode, or might have been the one before, where I'd bred, I think, a non-cap bird, and I felt that I probably left the youngsters directly in with the hen a little bit too long, and she started plucking tail feathers because she obviously wanted to go to nest again. So obviously introduced the wire divider. You know, eventually that is an example. You know, these are things that I've modified myself basically to kind of slide, you know, in and out, so the hen can still feed them through the wire. So like I said, that's, you know, unfortunately though, with this first round, I was probably a little bit slow doing that, and there was a particular non-cap, I think I mentioned on the video, that it was left with probably 2 tail feathers, and then when I put it in a cage with its siblings, while we were weaning them, its siblings decided to demolish the other 2 tail feathers and left it completely tailless. And I was saying on that video that I felt, well, that's it, that's that one written off from a showbird perspective, because I was expecting the tail feathers to grow back with the white tips on, those adult white tips that you get in lizard canaries, and that would be it from a show point of view. Anyway, I got a message from Hugh Evans actually, privately, just to say, hey, you know, don't lose hope, because, and I wasn't aware of this, by the way. Just shows you all these things that you kind of forget over the years. That, you know, if a bird does lose those feathers, you know, in the first within the first 6 weeks, which it did, there's a good chance they'll grow back, you know, as they were originally, but without the white tips, and that's exactly what's happened. So the tailless wonder that I genuinely thought was ruined as a showbird, potentially, has grown back its full set of tail feathers, and there isn't a white tip in sight. So thank you, Hugh, for that little bit of advice, which obviously I'm sharing on the channel, so that if anyone else discovers that issue themselves, don't lose hope. There's always a chance within that 6-week window that those feathers will grow back as they should, and it did. And in fact, as I kind of look round the bird room so far, on the whole, so far, the flight and tail feathers on pretty much all of the birds are pretty much intact so far this year, despite the fluttering that's kind of going on. So yeah, not unhappy. Overall, this year is certainly from what I wanted to do in terms of numbers across the full set of hens and the cock birds that I used. has kind of delivered the kind of quantity that I wanted. But now for the fun part, let's see how things work out through the Moult, because once the Moult is over, that will really be the telltale signs to see what has happened in terms of the quality. I think I've got enough birds across those lines, with the exception of that particular silver hen, that give me some interesting kind of crossover opportunities with the breeding program for next year. But the key thing is the birds that I really wanted to breed have bred, and they've bred sufficient numbers that give me options, but also give me options to help other people out as well. So a couple of my adult pairs for like a final round have gone to a friend of mine who'd had a slower season than me, to hope, in hope that he can get a few more youngsters out of them, and hopefully he will. Outside of that, like I said, there's enough birds here, I think, this year to be able to support a few people, hopefully with some pairs and that. So, I won't be in a position to let anything go, I would imagine, till probably November time. Towards the end of November, I'll have a better idea. Once the last lot of youngsters also have molted out thoroughly, I'll have a better picture of what will be kind of sorted out. So I'd just say anybody interested in anything as the year goes by, just kind of get in touch. If there are people where I've kind of highlighted about having birds previously, again, just drop me a message, and I'll see what I can do with what we've got here. But I think there'll be enough to help people out. But like I said, drop me a line. So let me know number of pairs you're potentially interested in, and and then let's see from there, basically. One of the things I've also wanted to highlight, so anybody new kind of coming into the hobby, so I would say anybody from a like a novice newcomer perspective, that have never been a member, let's say, of the Lizard Canary Association. If you have pairs off me this year, I will pay your first year's subscription to the Lizard Canary Association, so you get the advantage of the newsletters and all of the updates and so on and so forth. I think it's really important to encourage people, and I think it's probably something good to do kind of moving forward, for me personally anyway. I want to sort of help people as much as I can, and again retain people in the hobby. So again, like I said, anybody that's not been an LCA member before and is a newcomer to Lizard Canaries this year, or bred for the first time this year, if you have birds off me this year, then I will pay that first year's subscription to the Lizard Canary Association on your behalf. The other thing I wanted to add was the NCA, National Council of Agriculture. Please support them as much as you possibly can. They're instrumental in doing the best they possibly can for our hobby. We know the hobby is facing some challenges in terms of regulations and so on and so forth, without getting into all the nitty-gritty and the detail. They're a body of like-minded people who work hard on behalf of people within the hobby, and I would urge everybody, whether you're a club, association, to affiliate to the NCA, and individuals, just again follow the Facebook page and the website and various other aspects on social media, and support support the team as much as you possibly can. Just wanted to throw that out there. There are other organisations that also support, like the Fighting Fund for the NCA, like the IOA, etc. But again, we do obviously from a Lizard Canary Association perspective, but I can't urge you enough to make sure you keep a close eye on what the NCA are doing, and also support them as much as you can. Before I close, you will see an update on the show dates, linked to the Lizard Canary for this year. Again, I'll just kind of end this episode with wishing you all the best through the Moult. And then look forward to seeing you on the other side of that. I'll be at the Stafford National in October. That'll be my first show. Obviously, I'm show secretary for the Lizard Canary Association section. So I will be, anyone wants show schedules to be able to enter birds at Stafford, again, please let me know. All the usual suspects will get theirs in the post like they have in previous years, but again, anybody new, please let me know, and I'll make sure you get you get the entry forms and the show schedule at the appropriate time. Like I said, in the meantime, hope the Moult does you well. Enjoy the summer, and look forward to catching up with you all soon. I'll probably do an update before the show season, just to show some pictures of some of the birds, how they've kind of coloured up and come through the Moult, and show you a little bit about the show training that I do as well. But in the meantime, like I said, best luck, and I will see you all again soon. Thank you.